Has Sai Baba ever saved your life?
Yes, he has saved my life.
In 1940?
Around 1940, yes. I sat up in bed and I saw a lot of light all around the room, and I could not see a source of that light. It was glowing everywhere, very bright light. At the same time, I heard a voice. The voice spoke in English, because at that time I'd forgotten my own language, having been abroad for so long. The voice simply called my name 3 times, okay? And then the question was asked by the voice, why are you doing this? The French boys are very naughty also. They used to trick me into drinking wine, and I got drunk.
How old were you?
I was 9 years old. And Swami was waiting there. You know, Swami welcomed me and everything into the auditorium, told me to speak for 1 hour and 15 minutes.
1 hour and 15 minutes?
Yes, it's a very long speech in front of Swami. He broke down my ego completely. That was a big lesson for me, that I should never be attached to my ego, that I should not have that ego, I should be a simple person. With the ego, you think about yourself, not others. So if you have a lot of love and compassion, you don't have ego, because you think about other people. To have pure love, you understand that everybody is Swami, everybody is God.
Dr. Art Ong Jumsai'em is a Buddhist follower of holy man Sri Sathya Sai Baba of India. Dr. Jumsai'em is from Thailand. He's a member of Parliament, and he participated in NASA's Viking space project. Dr. Jumsai'em is also an author, winner of the Top Scientist of the Year Award for Invention, and much, much more. Welcome to Soul Germs. This interview was recorded in Chicago, USA, on September 2nd, 2006.
Dr. Jumsai'em.
Yes.
Thank you very much for agreeing to speak with us. We're here in the great city of Chicago at the Sai Baba Annual Labor Day Retreat, September 2nd, 2006. And do you know what I'm prompted most to ask of you right now?
I don't know.
What kind of a little boy were you?
Oh, I used to be a very naughty boy. I used to fight with other boys. I used to be very naughty in class, making a lot of noises, and make my teachers very unhappy as a result. This was, of course, taking place in France and in England mostly. When I was in Thailand, I was a little bit better as a small boy. Then I went to France when I was 9 years old, and I went to England when I was 11 years old. So before 15, I was really a very naughty boy.
Where on earth did this mischievous nature come from? Because I presume you were raised in a very loving, peaceful Buddhist family?
Yes, that's why I say when I was in Thailand, I was a reasonable, good boy. But when I went to France, the French boys are very naughty also. They used to trick me into drinking wine, and I got drunk.
How old were you?
I was 9 years old. But they used to drink red wine as part of their meal, but they watered it down. I didn't know that. When my very first day at school in France, a French boy gave me a glass full of red wine and said, "This you have to drink. It's part of our culture, and it's just like water." So I drank the whole glass, and I was drunk.
Did you like being drunk?
Not at all. No, and it's because of that I really stopped drinking. I would not touch any more drink.
You stopped at a very early age.
Yes. I didn't enjoy it because I had to be carried home, and it's really a terrible experience.
I heard you speak today, and as you were speaking, it reminded me of something that may not be the right interpretation, if from the story you were talking about. I interpreted your story as being a unique, creative, and wonderful example of equanimity. But you may have a different way of explaining it. Would you be so kind as to repeat the story about these schoolyard boys who were just as naughty as you when you were in France and in England, who used to pick on you because in France you didn't have their language?
Well, when I first went to France at the age of 9, the French boys were very interested in me because I didn't look like them. So they want to know about me, they want to get to know me. So they came and started talking with me. And of course I did not understand a single word of French. So all I did was to smile. Now, they didn't think it was so funny because they wanted to talk to me, but I would not talk to them. So they feel it's very bad manners when you talk to someone and that person doesn't talk to you, doesn't reply. That's really bad manners. So they got very angry. And when they became very angry, they started to use all the swear words, the worst French words that they can find. And all I did was to smile, because it's just vibration of air. There's nothing more than just vibration of air. So to me, it was nothing. I did not understand them, so I smiled. So that was a lesson for me for my future, because when people say bad things at you, I just say, oh, it's only vibration of air, and I don't need to worry about it or get angry about it. However, after 1 month, I started to understand what they were saying. I realized they were swearing at me, and because of that I became very angry. You see, now I interpret the meaning of that vibration of air, and when you interpret the meaning in a negative way, you become angry, you start to get upset. So I started to fight the French boys, and I beat them all up because I used Thai kickboxing. So I became a very naughty boy as a result in France.
So what's the lesson here? Because it worked for you so well when you didn't understand French, and it must have been very confusing to the boys who were picking on you. And then as soon as you learned it, you gave judgment to those words and acted on it in an equally negative way. So
right.
What's the lesson we can take away from this?
Well, the main lesson is that words are merely vibration of air. It depends on how you interpret it. So as we grow up, we become more mature, we should learn to interpret the vibration of air in a positive way. If people swear at us, we should say, it's only vibration of air, and what they're saying is very good for me. You know, you should see Swami in them, that they are really helping you so that you learn self-control, you learn to have equanimity, okay? You learn to keep calm, because we need to have tests in order to gain strength, in order to progress. Without tests, without problems or difficulties, how can we learn to be strong? So really, when people say bad things at you, just realize it's only vibration of air, and they are our teachers who are trying to help us so that we can become strong and remain calm at the same time.
I know you went through some wonderful transformations of the heart, getting to know Sai Baba. Before we get to those transformations, you also went through a behavior and scholastic transformation as a young boy when you left France and England and went back to Thailand. Everything about you changed, if I remember your story.
Actually, I changed when I was 15 years old. That's my main transformation, the biggest transformation that took place in my life. And at that time I did not know Swami. So I was actually in a public school in England. It's a boarding school, okay, and that's where the main transformation took place. But it was really very miraculous, and I feel that it was Swami anyway, because Swami has appeared to me. I didn't know it when I was born. When I was very, very young, he saved me in the Second World War, when our house was being bombed. So really, Swami has always been looking after us, taking care of us, probably for centuries.
How do you know he saved you during the Second World War?
Well, my mother related the story because I was only just a baby. I was just born. I was born in 1940, which was right at the beginning of the war in Thailand. And at that time we lived in an army barrack because my grandfather was a major in the Thai army. So we had a house inside the barrack. So when the Japanese came to occupy our country, they started to bomb us for a little while. Then when they occupied our country, the Allies came and started bombing
the Japanese.
Japanese, and also they bombed us. So at that time, my mother related this story, that a young man came to our house and he offered a little packet, and he told my mother, spread this over the roof and you will be safe. Okay. My mother opened the package and she described to me as fine sand. Okay. So my mother did what she was told by that young man, spread this all over the roof. Then our house was the only house left standing at the end of the war.
Amazing.
So I was saved by that young man. Now, how do I know this was Swami? Well, this happened much later when I was invited to go and speak at the summer camp in Vrindavan in Whitefield. So I went there and I spoke. I had 1.25 hours to speak. And Swami was there. He was there listening to the whole thing. So I thought this was a good opportunity because I always suspected that it may have been Swami coming to help me. So I told the story in front of Swami. And when I said, my mother said it was fine sand, Swami turned around to all the professors who were sitting around him. He said, I didn't give his mother fine sand, I gave Viputi.
And this was back in the early 40s?
This was in the early 40s, yes.
And I'm not aware of too many stories where Baba's miraculous accounts were known outside of India that early in his evolution.
No, he did appear during the war, saving many people in various places. In London, for example, he was known to have appeared and saved people. Yes, so it's not just, it's not unique.
Well, you might say that was your first major transformation. He enabled you to survive the war.
Well, yes, survival, but I was not transformed yet.
Okay, so
I knew nothing about...
at the age of 15, when, as you describe it, the most significant transformation of your life, you hinted at it being connected to Baba. Can you tell us, can you lead us through that transformation when you were a student in England at the boarding house, the boarding school?
Well, it was during the middle of the night. I was sleeping in the dormitory, and in that same room there were 50 other boys sleeping side by side. And suddenly, in the middle of the night, I was woken up, and I sat up in bed, and I saw a lot of light all around the room, and I could not see a source of that light. It was glowing everywhere, very bright light. At the same time, I heard a voice. The voice spoke in English because at that time I've forgotten my own language, having been abroad for so long. The voice simply called my name 3 times, okay, and then the question was asked by the voice, why are you doing this? Okay, that's all was spoken. My name was called 3 times, and then, why are you doing this?
Did you have any idea what that was about?
I didn't have any idea. I thought it was a ghost. So I was a strong boy, you know, a lot of strong will, so I told myself, forget about ghosts. Don't be scared by ghosts. Go back to sleep. So I went back to sleep. Okay. Then the next night, the same thing happened again.
My goodness.
And this went on.
Nobody else saw this?
Well, I looked to my sides. All my friends were asleep. None of them heard anything. They did not see anything. And this went on for 3 nights. And after the 3rd night, I could not go to sleep anymore. I was thinking, what is this? And then while I was thinking, I thought, maybe it's because I'm a naughty boy. Because I used to fight everybody. I created a lot of problems for my teachers.
Were you a good student?
No, I came bottom of my class because I didn't really study very much. I played around a lot. So I decided I better go and get some advice. Now there's nobody really who could give advice except for the chaplain. So I went to the chaplain. A boarding school in England, they always...
Anglican chaplain?
Yes, Anglican chaplain. So I went to see him, and he was so happy that I went to see him because he's been trying to convert me for some time.
From being a Buddhist to an Anglican?
I'm a Buddhist, and he tried to convert me to a Christian. So he was so happy because previously I used to run away every time he tried to talk to me about religion. I would not listen to him. He tried to get me to attend service in the chapel, but I would not go. So he was very happy that I went to him. So I told him the whole story. He said, well, if you want to know the answer, come and pray with me in the chapel. Mm-hmm. So he took me into the chapel and we started to pray. I still did not get the answer. So he told me, well, come to the Bible class. I want to teach you all about the Bible. Then you'll find your answer. So I went and studied the Bible with the chaplain. But then after only 2 or 3 weeks, we had a quarrel in class. The chaplain was teaching about prayers. And he said, when you pray, you come to the chapel all together, you say your prayers with a loud voice. I said, sir, this is not what is taught in the Bible. The Bible says you can pray in the corner of your own room, you can pray from your heart quietly, you don't have to speak loudly like the Pharisees, mm-hmm. Who like to speak things loudly so that everybody will respect them. When I said that, the chaplain got very angry. So he chased me out of the room. He said, get out! So I went out and I was crying because I really tried hard to study the Bible, mm-hmm. but then I was chased out. So I went to see my headmaster. The headmaster said, you cool down, let the chaplain cool down, you go and study in the library by yourself first. So I went in the library and I started to think, what should I study, what should I look at? Then I remembered I was born a Buddhist, I had forgotten that. I should look at something in Buddhism. So I looked for a book on Buddhism and I found an article on meditation. Immediately I felt, that's it, I must practice meditation. So from that day onwards I started to practice Buddhist meditation, which is simply being aware of the breathing. And I practiced that every day. Within a month I felt so peaceful. I stopped fighting with everybody. I would not fight anymore. I would not quarrel with anyone. And I continue to practice every day After 1 year, I took my exams again, yearly exam. I came top of the class.
Wow.
From bottom of the class, I became top. And I became very calm. I stopped fighting. I was full of peace because of the meditation.
So this was, in fact, the biggest transformation of your life.
It's the biggest transformation. It changed myself. I was changed completely from a naughty boy to a peaceful boy, from a person who did not study well
to a very scholarly young man.
A very clever boy at that time.
Dr. Jumsai, it sounds like you left one important element out of this story. Did you ever figure out the source of the light and the voice?
Well, I read the Bible again, and I saw a similar thing with Saul, who became St. Paul. He also saw the light,
the road to Damascus,
and also almost exactly the same words: Saul, 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 why are you persecuting me? So it's almost identical, except that the words was for me, why are you doing this? So that got me thinking, maybe it was God. At that time I can really think of God. I didn't know anything else. So I thought, well, maybe it was God who reminded me to become a good boy and change myself. And the question was quite clear: why are you doing this? I realized immediately, why should I be a naughty boy? Why should I be fighting everybody? Okay, so that question helped me a great deal to think about myself, what I should be doing. And when I found the meditation, that was it. It helped me to contact my inner voice and the inner, well, I feel God is within.
So this transformation at the age of 15 and 16 not only transformed your mind, your outlook, and your physical hunger to interact with people in a negative way, it sounds like it also transformed your, it sounds like from your own admission, a rather lackadaisical Buddhist to a pious Buddhist, to somebody who observed.
Yes, correct. But yet I was not fully satisfied. I still wanted to meet somebody. You know, I used to pray every night, why should I be born at this time when there's a lot of wars, there's a lot of fighting, there are a lot of problems on earth? Why can't I be born in the time of Jesus or the time of the Lord Buddha, so that I can meet a saint of that caliber? I was thinking about that. Then I would fall asleep, and then I would dream almost every night. I went to a big tree in my dream. Underneath a tree there was a saint who's sitting there, and I would go and sit with him, and he would tell me many things. He would teach me almost daily at night time when I was dreaming. And then he told me about my prayer, that be patient. The time will come when you will meet your master.
Did you recognize this person at that time? Was it Buddha or Jesus?
No, it was not the Lord Buddha. It was not Jesus. It was not anyone that I knew. He was big man, fat man, bald-headed, okay, and he was wrapped in white clothes. But later on, I saw a picture of Sivananda.
Shivananda.
And I recognized this is the same man.
Mm-hmm. And he was telling you mostly to be patient.
Yes.
Your teacher would come.
Yes, he did. That's what he said. Just be patient. The time will come when you will meet your master. Mm-hmm. These are his words. At the same time, we had a lot of conversation, and he used to teach me and answered everything that I had in my mind. So it was really wonderful dreams that I had at that time. I learned a lot from that saint.
What was your profession back in those younger days?
Well, I was still a student.
Okay, you were still a student when this was happening to you.
Yes, because it started when I was only 15, and because I studied well, I became top of my class. I gained entry into Cambridge University with very good marks when I took my entrance examination. And
then at Trinity College.
Yes, I was at Trinity College.
You were in the very same dormitory room that your father had years before.
Correct.
And you were located immediately next door to the dormitory room of a former obscure student from 300 years ago.
Yes.
Whose name is Isaac Newton.
Isaac Newton, yes. Yes, that was really wonderful.
Did you feel any vibrations from that room?
Yes, I certainly felt a lot of vibration, very good vibration, and it also inspired me to become a scientist, following the footsteps of Sir Isaac Newton.
Did you start to put two and two together, Dr. Jumsai, that maybe you were on a divinely inspired path over which you had little control, little will power?
Well, I was thinking a lot about my path, what I should do, what I should be, and at that time I felt that why should I study? I don't want to be in the world anymore. You know, when I was in my student of the university, Cambridge University, I started to think in that way. I feel that why do I want to get a degree? I don't need it. I want to be in the forest, I want to be an ascetic, I want to be a monk, I want to be away from society. But then I would have a dream, and again that same saint would tell me that this is not the time for you to be in the forest. You have to be in society, you have to work in society and help people in society. So I started to get all these teachings from the saint in my dream. And so I started to search at that time for various living masters. I want to study from them, I want to know from them. I searched and searched. At first I started to look at the teachings of Vivekananda and Yogananda. I studied their teachings, and I still was not happy because I could not meet them. Although Yogananda was still alive when I was still a student at school.
Was Sri Yukteswar still alive at that time?
Oh, no.
He had already passed.
He has already passed, yes. So I continued to search. I found a yogi, an Englishman who was a yogi, and he taught me all about giving service, about action, karma yoga, that we should be working in society. And again he confirmed with me directly, because I was with him for a little while, and he told me that in this life we should work hard in society. The world needs people to help. We need to be in society to help other people. So I keep on getting this message all the time.
And one question before you go on. Why is it that you are not drawn spiritually to a Buddhist master, a Buddhist teacher?
Because I was in England,
okay,
and it's very difficult to find a good Buddhist there.
But there were Indian gurus there.
Well, Indian gurus are not Buddhist. I did find a Buddhist monk who initiated me into meditation, Buddhist meditation, and I found several Sri Lankan Buddhist monks also in London, and they also taught me a lot about Buddhism. Mm-hmm. And after I completed my first degree, bachelor's degree, my mother allowed me to go home for the first time after some 12 years abroad. And immediately I requested them, my mother and my father, if I could become a monk.
Really?
I'd like to become a monk. Now, my mother and my father realized that if I do become a monk, I would never leave the monkhood. Okay, so instead of allowing me to become a monk, for a Buddhist monk, you've got to get permission from your parents. Otherwise, you cannot become a monk. Now, my parents would not give me permission to become a monk. Instead, they arranged parties for me, invited all the girls, the eligible girls. They want me to meet all these girls and try to arrange a marriage for
They were
me.
trying to sabotage you.
Well, because they feel that it's better to be in society rather than becoming a monk, because then they knew that I would not come out again. I would disappear as a monk. So I think they were working together with God in trying to get me to be in society. So it did not work. Of course, I didn't get married at that time. I still felt that my way of life is a spiritual one. I wanted to be really a monk, an ascetic, even though I was warned by several masters, including the master that came into my dream. Anyway, I reluctantly went back to England. I continued my study. I changed from Cambridge University to Imperial College of Science and Technology in London University, which is the best place for scientific studies. So I went there and studied, but I wasn't interested in my studies. I was president of many clubs. I was president of the Buddhist Association in London University. I was president of Society for Psychic Research. I was very interested in that. I was also president of the UFO Society.
The UFO Society?
UFO. Yes, because I wanted to. I realized that there must be life everywhere. I felt that our Earth cannot be the only world that can sustain life. So I was interested to find out if there's life in other planets or in other worlds in our galaxy and so on. So that's why I went there. We used to investigate quite a lot. We saw several UFOs, in fact.
You did?
Yes, and that was quite interesting. We used to camp out in England somewhere in the middle of the night. We would observe the sky, and we would see things which are not normal planes or normal rockets or whatever we have on Earth, because it could change direction at right angles suddenly. Our planes cannot do that. Rockets cannot do that.
This is jumping ahead a little bit. Did you ever have the occasion to speak with Sai Baba about this?
Not well. Yes, I talked to him about it, and he said it's mostly imagination.
Because I thought once he said there is no life outside of this world.
Well, not to me. He did not say that. In fact, he confirmed that life is everywhere.
Life is everywhere.
Yes. However, he would not talk very much about UFOs. Okay. But I read in other accounts, some British people, they written a book where they had an interview with Swami, and Swami confirmed that there are such things as UFO.
And you saw them?
I saw them, yes. I saw them.
So take us from this point forward then. You're still a young man, very active, very much in the world, a curiosity about everything. Did you come close during that time period to finding your teacher?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. I had to go through a lot more experiences in the world before I did that. But anyway, because I was doing all kinds of things outside the university, I did not progress very much in my PhD. But then one day I was sitting in meditation, and suddenly I realized I got to get my PhD. And the master that used to appear in my dream, he said, you should have your PhD because you'll be teaching other people. And when you're going to teach other people about spiritual matter, if you don't have a high degree, people won't listen to you. Mm-hmm. But if you have a PhD, this will carry a lot of weight. It will help you in what you need to do in the future. Mm-hmm. So with that realization, I went back to university and I told my advisor, I'm going to finish my PhD. And he laughed and laughed. He said, how are you going to finish your PhD? You don't even have your subject yet. So I went back and I sat in meditation. And you know, in the middle of my meditation, suddenly the whole idea flashed into my mind. I saw a picture of a machine that is used for amplifying microwave signals. I was studying microwaves, so I had this amplifier in my mind. It's something new, nobody has built it before. It came in the middle of my meditation. So I built it, tested it, it worked. So I wrote a whole thesis on this, gave it to my professor, and I was the first one to finish PhD. Amongst all my contemporaries who are English boys, they have not finished it.
And they had been working on it, no doubt, all the way.
Yes, they've been working hard. I didn't work at all.
So you continue to be guided or led, even without your awareness from time to time, during these formative years.
That's right. After I finished my PhD, I came back to Thailand, and I gave up with regards to not getting married, not having a family, because I realized by that time that I have to be a householder, I have to be a normal person, so-called normal person, living in the world. I have to be in society. So I agreed with my parents, yes, I will get married. And so finally I did get married. At that time I was teaching at university, and I did not teach just engineering. I was in the faculty of engineering. In fact, most of my teaching is on spiritual matters, on meditation. I was teaching students how to be good people, full of values. All this I was doing already.
You must have been the only professor with a PhD in engineering teaching spirituality.
Right, correct. I was the only one. In fact, not just PhD in engineering. Other PhDs in social subjects and so on, they weren't teaching meditation. I was the only one doing that at the university. So I still had to wait for quite some time. I had to gain a lot more experiences in the world before I could meet my master.
Well, let's go up to the time when you did meet your master then. About how old were you at that time?
I was 42.
Okay, so you'd spent the previous 20 years working in Thailand, it sounds like.
I did everything. I was teaching at university. I was a businessman for some time. I was very successful. I was chairman of several companies, managing director of several companies. I own a few companies myself. And I went into politics also.
So you were a man of the world.
I was a man of the world.
What happened at the age of 42?
At the age of 42, there was a very well-known Buddhist teacher. He had gone to see Swami. He came back very enthusiastically. He told everybody about Sathya Sai Baba. And he told me, would you like to go and see him? After telling me all about Sathya Sai Baba. I said, well, if he's so great, he must call me, otherwise I won't go.
Oh.
I put up a challenge. Of course, I didn't know Sathya Sai Baba that well to do that. But anyway, that's what I said. And on that same day, he answered.
How did he answer?
I was sitting all alone by myself, and suddenly there was a lot of light and energy entering my body, and I was shaking and shaking, and I was crying and crying. I didn't know why, but then I felt maybe he's calling me. So I went to my mother. My mother is really very, he met that boy or that young man who came to save us.
Yes.
Although she did not know that who it was, but immediately she said, "Yes, I'll go with you." I asked my mother to go with me, accompany me to see Sathya Sai Baba, and she felt something inside that this is it, she wants to go. So we went together to Puttapati for the first time, and there was a huge crowd in Puttapati at that time. It happened to be the birthday celebration, and we didn't know it, but a big crowd. I could not get anywhere close to Swami at all. When he first came out for darshan, I was well outside the gates. I couldn't get close, and but I had a glimpse of him. As soon as I had that glimpse, Swami turned round towards me, and immediately there was a lot of light and energy entering my body, and I was shaking and shaking and shaking. I was crying. Exactly the same experience that I had in Thailand. So I realized that he certainly did call me. So I realized that was the end of my journey, my search, because I was searching and searching for the Master for many, many years.
So that was enough to tell you that you had found him. Only
I knew it. I knew that's it. There's
so this
no
is
more
maybe
search.
in the 1970s. This took place.
1982.
1982.
Yes.
And you were 42.
Yes. At that time.
So, what happened then? Did you start coming back more often? Or?
Well, because it was the birthday celebration, I could not get close to him. I didn't know how to get close to him. I slept in the shed. There was no other accommodation available because of the big crowd. My mother was there. My mother really believed in him as well. I told my mother, let's buy some pictures of Swami so we can have something in our house. My mother said, no way, we're not going to buy. If he's a great being, he will supply the picture.
She was tough, just like you.
Yes. And that same day that she said that, we went back to the shed, and there was a picture of Swami on her pillow. So she was so happy. She said, that's it, that's a picture that I want. I don't need to buy it. It has appeared there. Swami has given to us. So she kept that picture until her very last breath in life.
Did she?
Oh yes, she was a very devoted person to Swami. In fact, when I come to see Swami again and again, I try to ask my mother to come. My mother said, I don't need to come. Swami is with me all the time, so I don't need to go.
I'm starting to hear that from devotees more and more
Yes.
and more.
Right. Yes.
So, from 1982
Yes.
to 2006, I'm just curious, and I'm a reporter, so I can ask a question like this. How many meetings have you had with Sai Baba, more or less? Interviews?
At first I counted. Then I lost. I decided it's better not to count. I don't really remember, but it must be somewhere around 30 or 40 times. Yes.
And what's the greatest thing he's done to you?
Well, I had to go through a lot of workshops, training by him. He tested me many times. He had to break down my ego and make sure that I'm completely detached from worldly matters, because I was involved in so many companies, and I was involved in various activities in politics as well. But on the political side, Swami encouraged me to continue, which was strange. To other devotees, he would say, stay clear of politics. But in my case, he kept telling me, go into politics. But of course, it must be politics with principle. So I did that. That's why I'm now a senator in the Parliament of Thailand. I'm still in politics at this time because Swami encouraged me. Although he told me very often, you don't like politics, do you? I said, I don't like politics. He said, go into politics.
I'm just curious, what about your colleagues in the Senate and in politics in Thailand? I would imagine 100% of whom are Buddhist, who are aware that you have this guru from India, from this teacher, Sai Baba, who perhaps sometimes they even go on the internet and read things that aren't very kind that are said about Sai Baba. Do they ever talk to you about this, or do they ever try to persuade you not to be who you are?
My political friends, they really love me, okay, because I don't present any danger to them politically. I always help them. I always do whatever I can to help other people in politics. I only talk about good things. When I make a speech in Parliament, I will only talk about human values, aspect of various political things. So I was harmless politician to them, and therefore they all loved me. When I drafted the first education reform, where I put in all the human values aspect into the political reform. Normally, you have to be in a big party to introduce a bill. But at that time, I introduced this bill. My party was very small, only 10 seats in Parliament, something like that. But I went around lobbying the various parties, and they all said, yes, we will support you. Normally they don't do that. In politics, you don't do that. You don't support a small party. They have to be, the biggest party has to be the main party that introduced a bill. And then it will pass through Parliament. If a smaller party introduce a bill, they won't accept it. But because they love me, they agreed. So I get full cooperation from my friends, and they fully accept. They know who I believe in, and there's no problem whatsoever. Thai people are very tolerant. You can believe in anything, in any religion. It doesn't matter. In Parliament, we do have some Christians. We do have a few Muslims from the south of Thailand. They're all Muslims. So we are a very tolerant society in Bangkok.
It just dawned on me that because you're in politics, because you're a Sai Baba devotee, you could be the first Sai devotee United Nations ambassador one day.
Well, I think I don't know what my future is. I don't have so many years to go because I'm now 66. But Swami told me many things about politics. Unfortunately, I can't divulge everything that he said about Thai politics. But anyway, he encouraged me to continue in my politics. But he did warn me on my second trip to see Swami, because after my first trip in 1982, I was not happy because I wanted to speak to Swami and I could not speak.
Too many people there.
Yeah, so in March, just a few months later, I went there again, and this time I got an interview. Okay, but I was in a group of Thai people. He called the whole group. Now he said to me at that time, politics without principle is not only useless, it's also positively dangerous. And then he knew I was a scientist. So he said, science without morality is also dangerous. And he knew I was in business, so again he talked about business. I think business without a science without humanity, okay, is dangerous, and business without morality is also dangerous. And he knew that I was in education because I was teaching at university. So again, education without what are his words? Education without
ethics and scrutiny, scruples,
without values, without something
values.
like that is also dangerous. So he taught me and warned me about everything that I was at that time.
Has Sai Baba ever saved your life?
Well, you remember I told you the story about my mother, and it was years later that he did confirm when I gave that talk in front of Swami in the summer camp, and he confirmed it to the professors that he gave vibhuti and not fine sand like what my mother said. And the professors came to tell me about that, what Swami has said. So yes, he has saved my life.
In 1940?
In around 1940, yes.
And since then, has he ever done anything of that stature? Has he ever... What has he done to you that's caused you to shake your head in disbelief that you can relate to us, that helps us better understand how he interacts in some people's lives?
Well, first of all, he taught me to be detached from worldly things. Okay, so at that time I was a very successful businessman, and suddenly I lost everything. My partners cheated on me. They decided to take all my shares. I did not fight back. I could have fought back in court because I had the rights to all those shares, but I decided not to fight. Then I received a call, a telegram from Swami to go and give a speech to the teachers who were gathered there, 3,000 teachers in Puttapati. So I went, gave my talk, then Swami called me, and I was just about to complain to him about losing all my business and I was in financial difficulty. He put up his hand and he said, I know, you have lost all your business, you are now in great financial difficulty. I know all about it. I only want to test you.
To test you.
So it was a great test. But it was very comforting actually when he said that he realized that he knew everything and he was the doer of that in taking away all my business. So that taught me a great lesson. He just wanted to test me to see if I'm still attached to all these worldly things. Okay.
Dr. Jumsai, are you attached to anything else today?
Only to Swami.
Do you have any fears today?
I don't have any fears. I don't have any worries. I feel so full of peace nowadays.
And if the world for you were to end tomorrow, would you have any regrets?
But there's no end as far as I'm concerned, because I feel Swami is in me. So how can Swami die, okay? Swami is always there.
And to those people seeing this story for the first time, how do you respond to them when they say, why you? Why have you been favored so lavishly with Swami's attention and so many wonderful interventions in your life from the first year of your life at the beginning of the war?
You know, when we have an avatar, when God incarnates in a human form, he does so for a purpose. And he never comes alone. He comes with an army of people around him to help him in his divine mission. So in the time of Lord Jesus, there are many disciples who were close to him, who served him in the same way with the Buddha. He had at least 1,250 people who were his close associates, monks who were working with him and propagating his work and teachings. So in the same way, the avatar comes with an army of people. And the army that he has brought is not to fight, but it's to help him in his divine mission. And he has prepared these people, okay, for centuries. It's not just at the time of birth, and all of us who are devotees have been prepared for this great moment. We may not realize it, but we have been prepared to be born at this time, to come and help him in his divine mission. And we have millions of people this time, all over the world, in the Sathya Sai organization, whom Swami has called, and he has prepared all of these people. I don't feel I'm the only one. I think that there's been many, many people who have been prepared and given a lot of attention and helped in similar ways. Well, actually there are many different ways in which he has been doing this. And if we meet all the devotees, they have amazing stories. Everybody have intervention in their life. Mm-hmm. It's really amazing. And so it's not unique in any way.
Let me approach it from one other direction then. With the world filled with over 6.2 billion people today, why do you suppose it is that such a relatively small fraction of that population is even aware of Baba's name?
Well, I think the time will come when the whole world will know of the avatar, because he has come to transform the world. He has come to bring peace to the world. And this time he has not come just once, he's coming 3 times. First as Shirdi Sai Baba, now as Sathya Sai Baba, and then he'll come again after passing away from this physical body. He'll come again as Prema Sai. So it's really an amazing event in the history of mankind. For the first time we have 3 avatars in succession. And it's never been like that before. Lord Krishna came and nobody to follow, or nobody came before him. We had Lord Rama also quite alone. We have the Buddha also quite alone, and so on. So, but this time it's quite different.
Do you think that time is coming soon? For example, in your lifetime, in the next couple of years, or during the time of the 3rd avatar?
Well, Swami has certainly said that in the time of Prema Sai there will be peace. But at the same time, he has told us peace will come sooner than what you expect. And to many devotees, including my wife, who has asked Swami, when will there be peace? Swami said, very, very soon. He stressed very, very soon. So we do expect that it will come very quickly on earth. Suddenly there will be peace on earth.
And do you interpret that to be within years, within your lifetime?
I believe that I will see the time of peace on earth. Yes.
And Baba has undoubtedly given you many insights, perhaps even many secrets, and I wouldn't be so bold as to ask you to share any secrets with us. But because I believe Baba directs you and all of us all the time, can you share a couple of insights that you've gleaned from him that might pop into your consciousness now that maybe are insights we're supposed to hear? Personal insights that he's shared with you over the years?
Well, when I asked him, when will there be peace on earth? He told me, none of your business. It's my business, not your business. So he's always liked to play with me, and you know, for me, Swami is not just God. He's inside me. He's my father. He's my friend. So sometimes he acts as a friend. And he would joke around, he will make fun of me sometimes. So really we have different kinds of relationship. Sometimes he's my teacher, sometimes he's my father, sometimes he's God, sometimes he's a friend. So we have that type of relationship, and so he will joke around, he will play around. When I studied for my PhD, he said, "Oh, how can you study? You don't have time to study." And again, I took it as a challenge. I did my second PhD in no time, very quickly.
We have time for only one remaining question,
yes.
And the videotape is telling me it's going to end soon.
Yes.
So instead of having it a question, I would like to give you the opportunity to say anything that comes to your mind that would be useful or amusing or entertaining to us about your life with Sai Baba.
Well, I just like to say that he is taking care of us and putting us through tests to make sure that we come up to the standard that he requires for his divine mission. So I just want to tell you another story where he got rid of my ego completely. At that time, he called me to a private interview. There was only the warden of Whitefield campus, myself and Swami, the three of us. And he said, please, well, he didn't say please, he said, I want you to come and talk to the students of the summer camp next month. Okay, I was there sometime in April, and the summer camp is going to be in May. So I thought to myself, well, I have some financial difficulty there. I bought all my tickets, all the quota for coming to see Swami. That came into my mind very quickly. He smiled at me. He knew what I was thinking. And he said, well, only if you can. Okay. So I went back to Thailand, and I found tickets already for me. It's first class traveling, but this was to go to Italy, whereas I was invited to go and speak in Assisi, in Italy. So immediately I went to my travel agent. I said, can you get my travel to go through Bangalore and then on to Assisi? So they looked at their schedule, they changed everything. It was all first class traveling via Bangalore. I did not have to pay any more money. Swami has arranged everything. So I started to have a big ego. Yes, he's inviting me, I'm going to go. So I traveled there, and I start to think to myself, because I'm a guest of Swami, he will arrange a car to come and pick me up. I went down the plane, I went through immigration, and then nobody came to pick me up. So I said, well, never mind, I'll take a taxi. So I took a taxi, and I arrived in the evening, and the Sevadal was there at the gate. So I told him, I'm a guest of Swami, I still have that big ego. He said, he doesn't care. Whoever you are, our gates are closed, you cannot go in. So I didn't know what to do. And then suddenly a crowd appeared in front of the gates. they're all whispering, Swami is coming out, Swami is coming out. So I said, oh, Swami will see me and he'll invite me inside. So I started to think in that way. Well, his car came out through the gates, and I was expecting that Swami would see me, but no, he looked the other way. He did not see me. He looked as if he didn't know I was there. I felt very unhappy because I had that big ego at that time that I was Swami's guest. So I was turned away by the Sevadal, and that night I had to go and rent a room outside, and I was bitten by mosquitoes all night. In those days they don't have good hotels or accommodation outside the ashram in Whitefield, so I had a little room, and it was not pleasant at all. I suffered the whole night. I could not sleep because of the mosquito bites. And in the morning, when I got up, took my bath, I realized it's my ego. I have to get rid of that ego. Swami is teaching me to get rid of that ego. So in the morning, I waited until Sevadal opened the gates. I went in for the normal darshan. I went into the queue like other people. I didn't feel I was the guest of Swami anymore. That ego has gone completely. Then things started to change. The warden came walking in. He saw me there. He said, "Where were you yesterday? We were waiting for you." We've already arranged a room for you.
Oh.
You have a nice room inside the ashram. I just smiled. And then in the afternoon he said, "Yes, go and speak." And Swami was waiting there. Swami welcomed me and everything into the auditorium, told me to speak for 1 hour and 15 minutes.
1 hour and 15 minutes?
Yes, it's a very long speech in front of Swami. Swami was sitting there listening to the whole thing very carefully. Then he gave a divine speech after me. So he broke down my ego completely. That was a big lesson for me, that I should never be attached to my ego, that I should not have that ego. I should be a simple person, okay, not thinking that I'm so great.
Well, that begs this one question. Is it more important in life to work on building compassion and humility, or is it more important to work at destroying your ego?
If you, it's really the same thing, because with the ego you think about yourself, not others. So if you have a lot of love and compassion, you don't have ego, because you think about other people. To have pure love, you understand that everybody is Swami, everybody is God. God exists in everybody. It's not just in me. Okay, so you start to become humble. You start to love everybody. So really, it's the same. If you work on love, compassion, you forget about yourself. You don't think of yourself. So the ego also disappears.
Dr. Jumsai, I'm very happy that at the age of 42 you consciously encountered your teacher, your guru. And thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much.
And Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
Jai respecting and abiding by